I keep thinking about this clinic website while we wait. Loads fast enough at first glance, but then the appointment form just sits there like it's meditating. That's the whole server-side rendering versus client-side rendering argument in a waiting room, isn't it? SSR gives you something visible sooner, which feels a lot like a receptionist actually making eye contact.
If the page shows up fast but you can't click anything, it's just a pretty poster. Time to first byte looks great on a slide, but time to interactive is the one that matters when people are already annoyed.
True, but I get jealous of teams that brag about tiny TTFB like they've solved physics. They haven't. They just moved the pain somewhere else. With GSR, the server looks lazy at first, but then the browser does all the work and everyone acts surprised when the phone feels like it's heating soup.
SSR can do the same trick if they're not careful. Ship too much HTML, too much hydration, and suddenly your fast page is carrying 3 football teams' worth of JavaScript.
Which is why the split matters. Render the shell on the server. Hydrate only the parts that need it. Like that guy over there trying to read a magazine upside down. He's committed but not efficient.
I'd still rather optimize for TT8 and worship TTFB. Users don't care that the first byte arrived early if the button is still dead.
Unless you're showing content-heavy pages, then SS* can feel better immediately. Search engines like it too, which is another thing product managers mention like it's a magic spell.
It's not magic. It's trade-offs.
And that's where SEO gets annoying, because the crawler isn't as patient as a human in a waiting room. If the content matters for discoverability, SSR usually gives you cleaner crawlability, without relying on the browser to execute everything perfectly.
Exactly. Some bots are fine, some are flaky, and some behave like they're on hold with the clinic all day. If your critical content only appears after a big client bundle runs, you're gambling.
Which is why I keep pushing for server-rendered metadata, canonical tags, structured data, the whole boring checklist. I hate that it's boring, because it works. It feels unfair that the website with the prettiest animations can lose to the one with the most obedient HTML.
Search engines do not care about your feelings or your animations.
Still, pure GSR can be okay if it's behind auth or not meant to rank. But if marketing wants organic traffic, they always want the page to look like a polished brochure and index, like a library card catalog. A little impossible, really.
Then make the important stuff crawlable first. Render it on the server, lazy load the fluff, and stop making bots play detective.
That detective work is exactly what hurts on slow networks, though. Out here, even this clinic Wi-Fi feels like it's powered by disappointment. On a low-end phone, a CSR app can show a blank screen for ages, and people assume it's broken before the bundle even starts.
Yeah. That first impression is brutal. SSR at least gives them something to read while the rest loads, which is better than staring at nothing and wondering if they tapped the wrong link.
And low-end devices don't just suffer from bandwidth, they choke on JavaScript. It's like asking someone in a crowded waiting room to assemble furniture while holding their coat and answering forms.
I've seen pages that were fast on my laptop and miserable on a cheap Android. Great way to discover your benchmark was lying to you.
The tricky part is balancing that with richer interactivity. If you push too much to the server, you can improve the first paint, but still make the page feel heavy once it wakes up. If you push too much to the client, you save back-end work and lose the user before hydration finishes.
So you design for the worst device, not the best demo machine. Shocking concept.
That's where bundle size becomes the villain again. Everyone talks about rendering strategy, but then ships a 2 MB JavaScript payload and acts surprised when the page limps in like someone carrying too many grocery bags.
Bundle size decides whether SSR actually feels fast. If the HTML arrives early but the JS payload is bloated, The user still waits forever to interact.
Right, and client-side rendering makes that pain even more obvious because the browser has to fetch, parse, and execute everything before the app becomes useful. On a fast machine, it's tolerable. On a mid-range phone, it's a tax.
Code splitting helps. So does trimming dependencies that do one tiny thing and drag in half the internet.
I once saw a team include 3 date libraries. 3. Like they were auditioning for the role of most redundant package. It was all for a calendar widget that mostly showed next Tuesday.
That's how you end up with a gorgeous architecture diagram and a terrible user experience.
Which is why I like SSR plus careful payload optimization. Send less JavaScript, hydrate less, defer what isn't needed, and let the server do the boring work up front.
The browser will thank you, or at least stop glaring at you.
Of course, once you move more work to the server, you start paying for it somewhere else. It's not free to render every request, especially if traffic spikes and suddenly the infrastructure team looks like they slept outside this clinic.
SSR can get expensive fast if you don't cache. More CPU, more memory, more instances. The bill shows up whether or not product wants to read it.
Client-side rendering shifts that burden away from the origin, which is nice until you realize you're making every user's device do the unpaid labor. I do admire the elegance of let the browser handle it, though. It's a little smug.
Smug is fine if it scales. CDNs help, edge rendering helps, caching helps. Without that, SSR becomes a very expensive way to serve the same homepage to everyone.
And sometimes the app isn't even personalized enough to justify it. Then you're burning server cycles just to deliver a dashboard that could have been static with a few dynamic islands.
Exactly. The real question is where the cost is cheapest: server, network, or client. Pick the wrong one and someone ends up angry.
Usually, all three, eventually, if the architecture gets creative enough.